Wherever you are, hello. Whenever you are, hello. I'm more worried about the visuals when I'm only getting 10 up. So if things look choppy, let me know. Phil Gallagher of Thraben University here. Henceforth on Twitch, YouTube, everywhere, I will be under the handle ThrabenU. We're going to get kind of meta here for a second, and things might get kind of weird. But if you look at the stream from here on out, it will be twitch.tv/ThrabenU. That's where we're at now. So I'm doing some rebranding in an effort to just make it easier to find me across platforms. So like basically everywhere now, you can find me under ThrabenU. The YouTube channel name has changed to ThrabenU, but the direct link to it is still Thraben University. And the PayPal hasn't changed because I literally can't change that one. It is not possible. So we are running back High Tide today. I got a follow-up donation pretty much immediately after we played High Tide the first time around from Liam H. And we're going to run the High Tide back with a couple of quality of life changes. We've adjusted the mana base a little bit to split our fetch lands a little bit better and also run fewer copies of Mystic Sanctuary. The donor suggested 2 copies, and I gave it some thought, and I decided I was just going to run 1 instead. Mystic Sanctuary just like super underperformed last week, and I wanted to cut down to just 1. Did you catch what Marcus streamed of the Sunday Challenge? No, I did not. I did my own recording on Sunday for Daily D&T, and then my girlfriend had a cast party for her play that we attended, so that was my Sunday in a nutshell, and going shopping. Marcus is great, though. If you want High Tide content, he is a much more proficient player than I am. The other thing I've changed is I've changed 2 sideboard cards. Liam mentioned that the Ravenous Trap that was in the sideboard is basically for other graveyard-based decks, so you can exile their graveyard before you Time Spiral. And my thought was, you know, a Surgical Extraction probably stops most of the things that I care about. So if my opponent has multiple Eldrazi, then, like, with different names that shuffle, like they have an Emrakul and, like an old Olimog or something like that, they can force me to Blue Sun win instead. And I dropped those 2 cards for Teferi's Realm, which essentially, at the beginning of each player's upkeep, they choose Artifact, Creature, Land, or non-aura enchantment, and all non-token permanents of that type phase out. So you can use this to get rid of multiple artifacts or enchantments that are messing you up. And we took some beatings to Chalice-based decks last week, so I wanted to give that a whirl. With that, since we've done another High Tide deck tech recently, I'm just going to go ahead and jump into a league. We're going to double check, make sure we're not playing Red Prison. Blue-White Taxes draft. No. Moto, you're not doing so hot in terms of picking my deck. Here we go. High Tide. Submit. Legacy League. Here we go. We are like 2 minutes into the stream actually beginning, and I have already gotten my first sub of the night. Steam Flogger Boss, thank you very much for the subscription. You are subscription number 1 of today. So the subs today will be going towards not this Thursday, but the following Thursday's stream. So last week we already unlocked a stream for Thursday the 13th, so this will be going towards Thursday the 20th. A Legacy Shadow deck. So we could play with Shadow cards, or we could play with True Name Nemesis. There's also, what is it, Invisible Stalker? Is that the blue? No, is that the Infect one? Oh no, I can't remember which one is the Infect one and which one is the just like hexproof unblockable one. Yeah, I think the Enchantress deck is really good. More High Tide. I mean, if people keep donating for High Tide, I'll keep playing High Tide. Like, I don't mind. The deck is fun and interesting. And doesn't take nearly as long to combo off as I imagined it does. I do think a green splash for Veil of Summer is totally reasonable. However, anytime you get wastelanded and you're the High Tide player, it is just, like, real rough. Because every land just puts you closer and closer and closer to victory. And losing one, it's devastating. Absolutely, Hackolite. I have not played Reset High Tide in, oh geez, 2 years maybe? Alright. What am I getting here? I think it's Intuition, because I think I'm going to want an Intuition for Time Spiral at some point, and probably use Merchant Scroll to get Turnabout or a Counterspell. Reset High Tide is, with lethal damage on the stack, I would like to respond. It's really fun. You get to play, like, the ultimate patience game. Hunting Pack in the side. Are you serious about Hunting Pack? Is that a joke? Like, honestly cannot tell. Ooh! Oh, that's so good! So I'm going to hold up a Counterspell for some problematic permanent like an Oko that might come down this turn. Otherwise, I will just probably Intuition for, like, triple Force of Will, and just take my time here with closing out this game. So, I don't know how many of you are watching Daily D&T, but at some point this week for Daily D&T, there's going to be a D&T mirror where we're both playing absolutely ridiculous versions of D&T. Oh god, that stings. Have you read that card? My opponent wouldn't need to cast another threat all game. Ooh, am I going? My opponent has to have force. Oh man, this is so tempting. I can Merchant Scroll for a protection card, though. Like, I can Merchant Scroll for Flusterstorm this turn. Oh man, it's so tempting to just go for it. Because they don't have force. It's just High Tide, Turnabout. Maybe Merchant Scroll if I want to. I don't think so, though. Into times... Well, no, I'd probably Merchant Scroll for another High Tide or another Untapper. This is so good to start with. I think I go for it. Turnabout. Target me. Oh, they're F6'd. Okay, so what's my optimal way to do this? So, merchant scroll. Can I merchant scroll for high tide and still hold up counterspell? This is my floating mana. This is my counterspell mana. My high tide mana. So if they counter, I actually can't do it, but I think they're F6'd. They are F6'd. This is so much floating mana going into this time spiral. Hey, hey, welcome. We have multiple pieces of counter magic available, which is cool. Let's brainstorm first so we can use the ponder to shuffle away things we don't want. So I've already made my land drop, so I don't want land, and I don't want second time spiral. So those can go away. I guess I'll ponder because I can look at the other card. Ooh. Yeah, we'll take that high tide. Yeah, we're going. Opponent is still F6'd, it looks like. So I don't want to spiral again if I don't have to, and I probably don't have to. Like, I'm getting dangerously close to the point where I can just brain freeze my opponent out. Just take a turnabout. Right, I have to pay for my spells. Yeah, we will be going for Cunning Wish Brain Freeze. So this would be 11, 12, 13. So 15 times 3 is 45. So I need to build a couple more Storm first. This is fine, I guess. Because it's just another card. Alright. And opponent's done with me. They don't want me to build their entire deck. So I didn't actually see all that many cards from my opponent. But we know they're going to be some sort of multicolored, like, Oko, Astrolabe pile. Hackolight, I think if I just... Well, no need to talk about that. Like, we were going to win there. Whether we won with Blue Sun immediately, or whether we brain freezed or whatever, like, we were going to win. Okay. So what are we doing against this blue deck? So Flusterstorm is probably fine. Counterspell is probably fine. Honestly, I don't really know that I sideboard all that much. Like, we tend to outweight blue decks. Yeah, we didn't play with Candelabra last time either. And we did fine. Forget how I did. It was either a 3-2 or a 4-1. Is there an issue with the overlay? It looks like I might need to scoot my chat window over a little bit. I want to make you skinnier. Ooh. Sorry, I'm not doing this in real time. I'm doing this in, like, fake Moto time. Yeah, I think... Oh, there's no chat on screen. I see. Now I see what you're talking about. Let me sideboard. So I just probably want to bring in like 2 cards. Maybe I'll just like trim 1 Force of Will and 1 Preordain. Call that good. Yeah, so for some reason I have low upload speed tonight. So it is probably just an issue with either Streamlabs or my low upload speed tonight. I'm not sure which, and I'm not going to troubleshoot it live because I can still... Yeah, we won game 1. I can still function like fully as a streamer. So I don't think it's worth like rebooting the stream or anything just to try to fix that. If it's still like this next stream, I will do proper troubleshooting. But I don't expect that it will be. Apologies to the folks who end up watching this on YouTube later. I'll try to remember to like read comments aloud that I'm replying to. So this is very different from the double basic start that my opponent went on last time around. Let's start playing some things. So I want this Mystic Sanctuary back in the deck. I want to redraw that later. And I'm pretty likely to find another land off of these 2 cantrips. So I think I'm just going to keep all my gas, fetch a land away, and assume that this Ponder that I cast this turn is going to get me into a spell that I like plus 1 land. Mystic Sanctuary, go away. Pretty happy with that Ponder. So now I can hit land drops 1 through 4, 1 through 5 if I don't fetch. I will have a counter spell available. Ah, that's what we're doing. Young Pyromancer plus at least 3 basic lands plus Astrolabe. Okay. This is all I'd want to play on Moto. The opponent's deck or my deck? I assume my deck is probably like dirt cheap. Brutal. So my opponent gets my High Tides with that, then sacks this Elemental to get both of my Cunning Wishes. This is a disaster. And something I 100% was not playing around. Yeah, casual 1 for 4. It's fine. I'm just gonna cry myself to sleep. I wonder if I'm even supposed to cast this Ponder, or if I'm supposed to hold it for a few turns and try to figure out what I'm missing. I'm going to go ahead and cast it now. God, Merchant Scroll is so bad in the face of these therapies. But I don't know that I can just take the counterspell. We could have a discussion about whether or not I'm supposed to play the fetch or not. But if this gets dazed, I really, really, really don't want to draw the top card in my library. Alright, what are we getting? I think to get myself back into this game, I need to try to resolve and meditate and let my opponent hit me for a bunch. Don't do it. Don't do it. Hello, hello, welcome. And opponent. Don't therapy me, bro. It would not be very cash money of you. I believe that's what the children say. Alright, we are not getting therapied. So that's cool. Yeah, we avoided getting therapied. My meditate is going to be kind of crummy. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12. We're not playing that delta. I'm going to YOLO resolve this now, while my opponent can't have counter magic available for it, and hope that I don't die. A lot of things leave me dead. I know someone says no one says cash money. That's the joke here. That's like /r/Anna memes material, and that's whoa. So that doesn't resolve. This life is so costly. How am I not dead? I'm 1 life point. I'm literally any 1 spell away from dead. Alright. So now we die to the extra turn that we give our opponent. So my opponent is 4-color Delver Breach with Astrolabes. Have people said tight since the last Austin Powers movie was made? I'm not sure that they have. It's a thing from the Grixis Discord? Okay. So what did I board? I boarded in a Flusterstorm and a Counterspell. So, Toit, like a Toiger, is no good. Shouldn't say that. Duly noted. Alright, do I actually want to fight my opponent as a combo deck? As in, do I actually want to board in things like Surgical Pierce that can disrupt them on the combo axis? I believe that the answer to that question is no. And I should just rely on the failure rate of their deck to buy me time until I get to 4 lands and go off. That makes sense to me. So we'll pretend like we sideboarded perfectly last time. Oh, I'm very much not Swedish. If I get Cabal Therapy blind, they just name Brainstorm. And taking another Brainstorm here totally sucks. I'm not doing it. don't think I want to brainstorm now. I want to hold up the possibility of brainstorming into a flusterstorm if my opponent just hard combos off. Yeah, 2 of a kind, real bad against Cabal Therapy. 3 of a kind, devastating. 4 of a kind, rage quit the game, post on Twitter about how much of a luck sack your opponent is. Something, something, variance, something, something. UB Dentist, thank you very much for following. I hope you're enjoying the content. And I missed someone else earlier as well. But my clicking is required. So my opponent has a reactive hand here, in all likelihood, or a handful of weird combo pieces. So currently I have so much mana and no ability to protect myself. I also need a finisher. What am I doing? With multiple high tides, I do like the multiple turnabouts. I think I'm going to put back land, brainstorm, and just redraw a card here. So there's a land on top. Do I want it? Thanks, Lewis. I'm putting in a lot of work right now towards improving the stream and like making my content as good as possible. I'm glad it's noticeable. I'm gonna put Pact on bottom. And Lewis, thank you very much for the support. It means a lot. We're going to put Pact, Land, Scroll, Shuffle Library, no. And then just call it good. Be willing to draw the land if my opponent doesn't start going for anything. Yeah, so yesterday afternoon I spent a couple hours working on rebranding so that I'm using the same name everywhere. So now I'm ThrabenU, like, basically everywhere. Your duress, I guess, resolves. I have a pretty redundant hand. It's just awkward in the face of therapy. Oh, don't do it. Don't do it. Okay. Oh, did I just die? It appears that I'm probably dead. Yeah, there's the brain freeze, the LED. All right. I'm not gonna make them go through the motions here. They've got it. So they go 3, do the Lion's Eye Diamond, crack the Lion's Eye Diamond. They still have 3 cards in graveyard for brain freeze, and we dead. So if I put the Pact in hand instead, my opponent would have taken that, then I would have brainstormed, I would have drawn 1, 2, 3, and I would have died anyway. So we were not getting a W against that. C'est la vie. Yeah, so now that more people are here, just to like flash this again. So I rebranded the Twitch the Twitter, the Facebook. The YouTube channel is now also ThrabenU, although the direct link to it is still Thraben University. The PayPal is still Thraben University. Those two haven't changed. And my Discord name is also ThrabenU. So step one in content changes. There's a longer video that I put on YouTube. I did kind of like a 15-minute mini rant about like the direction that I'm taking everything. I don't want to reiterate too much in case like people have already seen some of that. But essentially, I'm doubling down on legacy content because people are loving it. Like, my viewership numbers have been absolutely awesome. You know, I'm one match into the stream and we're already at 65 viewers. Like, people love legacy right now. This I will keep. I'm a little land light, but otherwise I have everything that I need. I think I'm going to start with Preordain and just bottom stuff that are not lands. Just get it out of the way. And then next turn I can dig deeper with Ponder. Hello and welcome. An Underground Sea. I haven't seen one of those played just like turn one in a while. Could we actually be playing against Ant? Have we met the sole remaining Ant player? I don't even know that I want to brainstorm yet. My hand is just, like, good. It's more optimal in terms of, like, my mana and sequencing to brainstorm now, but I don't really have anything that I want to get rid of. These are good. These are good. We will not be shuffling. I think that was probably pretty apparent. Yeah, so I'm obviously being a little bit facetious here, but a lot of the players who were previously playing Ant have switched to playing Breach decks, and Ant is in a little bit of a rough position because there's just, like, so much Veil of Summer running around, and that's just one more thing for you to care about. They can certainly win through it, but when people start going the, like, I'm going to main deck Veil of Summer, it's so good route, things are scary. Alright, so I can go for it here, but I would be going for it with no protection. So I think I'd rather spend some combination of my turn. Alright, now we're going to MTG Goldfish my opponent. Samu, 27. Last seen playing Legacy 4-color Breach. Does your 4-color Breach deck have Underground Sea and Misty? Underground Sea. No Misty. You were playing Deltas and Tarns in that list. My opponent could have Silence, and that would be something that I have to worry about. But otherwise I have, like, High Tide, Turnabout, Scroll. Let's wait a turn. One more land drop, and the ability to find a counterspell is pretty good. Those are good cards. So whatever I put back, I'm just getting rid of. So I think I'm gonna get rid of Preordained Land, Fetch, Land, Merchant Scroll, And then I'm going to get... Actually, can I get packed safely? So if it makes it around to my upkeep because I packed something in my opponent's turn, I just go High Tide, Turnabout. That would be weird. I'm going to get Force of Will. It's slightly worse in terms of actually comboing off, but is safer in case I actually have to use it to stop my opponent. If they just silence me, it's whatever. Yeah, I've been putting in the time recently, and so has Anurag. I think Anurag said he had like 150 matches in with Breach. I don't know what percentage of them were on stream, but when he streams for a long time. I have mad respect for Anurag as a streamer and a player. He is probably literally my favorite person to play against. We've had some absolutely crazy matches over the years. So I cannot let my opponent take this time spiral. I wish I knew this math better to know which one I'm supposed to pitch. I guess it's my High Tide. Because I can go High Tide, Turnabout, but I can't go High Tide, Turnabout right now without the fourth land. So I guess that makes sense to me. I don't love that it gives my opponent the 2-for-1 here, but that is what it is. I'm also now not locked into going for it, but pretty likely to just go for it. Oh, geez. Can you go? Do you have double pedal? Okay. I was gonna say. Well, that's a land, that's an island, so that's cool. This does represent that my opponent can have silence, though, which I don't love. How much mana do I have? I have 8 mana. Do I Turnabout? No, I can't. I need 10 to Turnabout their artifacts. But I was definitely thinking about it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So I don't currently have a counterspell for a silence. If my opponent plays one in response to whatever I do, I can do some combination of meditates and brainstorms to do it. Okay, they're still F6, so I'm fine. All right, we should be done here. So many things. We'll put back land and I guess a random brainstorm. We have everything we could possibly need now. So I will go ahead and use a turnabout to tap down my opponent's stuff. Oh, I guess it doesn't matter, because if they have it now, they cast it, and then I force it, and everything's okay. So I'll just spin my wheels for a minute, build up the storm count, and then kill them. Oh wait, I need to cast another spell or two first. I should be able to brainstorm, then brain freeze. And result in regards to the force pitch, you could have gone Tide, turn Spiral with 3 floating and 3 untapped lands if I pitched turn instead of Tide. No, I only have 3 lands, right? So I go Tide, have 1 floating, Tide. Oh no, tap the land for 3. Yeah. Okay, you're right. I don't know exactly how the matchup goes. My opponent also still could just be Ant. I assume they're Breach. Breach makes more sense to me. Opponent was last seen playing Breach. But just something to keep in mind. Pierce, Surgical Extraction, Flusterstorm. I will go ahead and board those in. I guess I'm the slower, more controlling of the 2 combo decks here. It's just awkward because my opponent also has like these discard spells and duresses. Sorry, the discard spells, potentially counter spells, and also silences that I need to worry about. So it's going to be this weird counterplay. My opponent was on an E-Tutor Gamble build last time they played, or last time they 5-0'd more accurately. They did not have counter spells. They did have 4 silences. So, what do I want to do? When in doubt, trim a preordain. The Pact is not a great defensive counterspell, so I'm going to go ahead and board that out, even though it's very good on my combo turn. And then I need to board out 2 things. Intuition as Time Spiral 4 is kind of valuable. But I think all of my things that are left are going to be kind of valuable. I'm going to be a little bit worse at putting together the combo, but a little bit better at disrupting my opponent. Phil, when are you going to get jacked to become the most swole MTG streamer? With the Twitch money falling into your lap, you should start. I see. My hand isn't great right now, but that's what Brainstorm is for. So we're just going to hope we don't get duressed on turn 1. Yeah, financially things are going very well for me as far as like the Twitch money goes. You know, nowhere near the I'm going to go and, you know, quit my job stage or anything. But enough to like really make it worth my time. And that's happy. I'm definitely in a minority in that I'm lucky enough that I can make legacy content that people want to watch. Plus, you occasionally get some fun little anecdotes from me about Latin or life. So last time High Tide went pretty well. This league is off to a much scarier start, though. So, like, for example, in terms of my curve right now, I really want to cast this Merchant Scroll. So if you're full screen, you're not going to see the chat, but if you're, like, regular size screen, you'll see the chat. There is an error on somebody's end. It's potentially my upload speed. So I didn't stop the stream to troubleshoot it, but I'll fix it if it happens again. So I brainstorm in response to that, and we'll figure out what I'm doing with my life. Honestly, the hand's so good now that I will probably just plan to shuffle away my snow-covered island and put something else that's valuable on top. So I want to get rid of this. And I think my opponent is somewhat likely to just take my Time Spiral, since that's a card that lets me go off. So I'm going to hide the second copy of that on top. Oh yeah, very easily could just die this turn. And if that happens, we will have lost to Breach 2 rounds in a row. Breach is good, folks. No, I'll gladly show my opponent the counterspell. The idea here is that if I show them the counterspell, it's showing that I have strength and I might be able to combo off. So, and again, it's still possible that we are just playing against Ant. I have not confirmed that this is Breach yet. All right, so I'm thinking about the Merchant Scroll versus Cunning Wish. I don't have a free counterspell in the sideboard currently. I do not. So I can just pass holding up counterspell, but if my opponent doesn't do anything, the only thing I gain... Well, I guess I could Cunning Wish. What would I Cunning Wish for if I had made it to the end of my opponent's turn? Turnabout? I'm still missing a High Tide. Alright. I don't think I can tap out for Merchant Scroll and feel safe. I'd rather wait a turn, Merchant Scroll for High Tide on my turn, and hold up Counterspell. Yes. So that's a good play. That's playing out Artifact mana in case I Time Spiral and Fizzle. So I can Cunning Wish here. Oh, I do have a Pact of Negation that I can get. That's not the worst. I thought that was in the deck, but I just missed it last time around. The fact that my opponent paused for so long right there definitely makes me afraid of tapping this land, because I might just get, like, Dark Rit, ad naused in response. But if my opponent goes Dark Rit, ad naused, then that means they probably don't have Silence. So that would be a plus for me. I will use Cunning Wish's ability. And we're just going to drag this game on. This is 5 to pay for, this is 5 to pay for. No fear. What do you expect me to do? Play around surgical extraction? That's what a good high tide player does. I am not a good high tide player. I'm just the guy you bribed to play high tide. So note, I can safely pact now, because I could pact, followed by like high tide and turnabout shenanigans. All right. So it feels like time. But boy, if my opponent has multiple pieces of interaction, I am scared. So if my opponent goes high tide and they respond, I pact. They respond again, I die? Let's not think about it. Let's not think about it. Let's go. All right. Now everything's okay. Turnabout, target me. We're going to use our regular blue mana first. Here we go. So before I turn about the next time, I'm going to brainstorm and try to find another land. Beautiful. So we'll put back Time Spiral, Force, land, fetch. Turnabout. Target me. Now we'll use all our regular mana. Here we go. What do you got, opponent? What do you got? Flusterstorm's fine, right? I just say, like, I'll pay. I'm not going to cast the Pact unless I have to, because I would like to not need to pay 5 if something goes wrong. And I can still pay for Fluster here. Alright, my opponent has cracked their LED for mana. Alright, so we are playing against Ant. Alright. What does it feel like to be brainstorm locked? We don't need to find out. So we can draw through that. Brainstorm again. Yeah, I still have to worry about a Fluster, but I don't have to worry about Veil. So that's cool. That's exactly what I was looking for. So Storm Count's 13. So we've basically got the win here. How much mana do I have? Not enough to make them draw their whole deck. So Cunning Wish is Storm 16. Brainstorm is, or Brain Freeze is 17. So 17 times 3 is 51. That does it. Yeah, High Tide mana is not snow. All right. Now we're 1-1. Yeah, so the way High Tide works is that High Tide, whenever you tap an island for mana, that player adds an additional blue. So it is not adding the same sort of mana that you are tapping. So for example, if you tap an Underground Sea for, black, you produce a black and a blue mana. So it is not just copying the mana that you produce and doubling it, it is adding an additional blue to whatever you are getting from the land. GG indeed. Yeah, the people donated to see High Tide. So people also wanted to see Espervile, strange mono black Marlin of the Morning Song, Ashiok deck, Rug Food Chain, and 5-color Loam. So those are the things that are in the queue currently. No cantrips, only one land. Nope. I'm going to keep this and get rid of my counterspell. Alright. So historically, Death and Taxes has been a really easy matchup for High Tide. However, things are changing because the deck now plays Deafening Silence and or Chalice in the sideboard. And those cards come down early and hit pretty hard. Yes, this is the sort of start that I would like to see from my opponent. No Thalia is strong. So we're going to take a turnabout here. We need to hit a land drop. Yeah, you go for it, Team Aggro Mom. You go for it. So Smash, the reason why I'm going for Turnabout is that if I just hit a land, I can go off next turn. Just High Tide, Turnabout, Time Spiral, and not give my opponent time to draw into things like Recruiter, Thalia, Prelate that are going to make my life harder. I went for the highest upside play, not the safest play. The safest play is unquestionably Brainstorm. but I respect D&T enough to try to close out the game if I am given the opportunity to. Now that I've whiffed, I will sadly take a brainstorm this turn. And if we have to fix it next turn, we have to fix it next turn. Again, still just hoping to spike the land so I can just go off, but if not, c'est la vie. Right, but Prelate, Thalia, Recruiter off the top are all relatively devastating to me closing out the game quickly. Rishadan Port is also pretty bad if my opponent knows how to play the High Tide matchup. Which I don't think they do because they have just not used their Jitte counters to connect with additional damage. What is a land? I don't even know anymore. Not even like a ponder or a brainstorm to like really try to hit the land. This is just clearing junk. Counts. Alright. So my opponent now gets 2 draws. They either draw for turn and the draw for their Sword of Fire and Ice trigger. I can Force of Will something and be relatively safe in doing so. Why are you sitting on those Jitte counters? It pains me. I could be at 4 life right now. If I have extra resources when I'm going off, I want to Hercules recall them. For bad manners. This is a Flicker Wisp. Oh, opponent. I don't know that that's the land that you want to flicker, because I can use that. Like if I hit a land drop, well, I guess it doesn't matter because my opponent has 12 damage sitting on Jitte. So I die to that. I just die to that. No, I don't. Does this enter tapped or untapped? Where are you? Tapped. Oh, that's a shame. Because otherwise I could, like, High Tide, Turnabout, Cunning Wish, Hercules Recall, and punish them. Top of the deck was just not at all cooperative here. Alright. So here's where we do the pro play of pass the turn. Alright? Now stay with me. The opponent hasn't used Jitte counters yet. So, maybe, just maybe, they won't use them this turn. It's unlikely, but it is my out right now. Naistifi, thank you very much for following. I hope you're enjoying the content. Current theory is one of opponent's mouse buttons is broken. And it's better now. Alright. Alright, but now you're pumping for more than you need to. Just critiquing. So, given the top of the deck here, my brainstorm line would not have worked out any better. We were just very dead to just like Mom and Jete swinging because we had Stone Cold nothing. Alright. Teferi's Realm is disgustingly good. Super happy to see that. Pact of Negation, probably not where I want to be. I think I'm probably supposed to bounce my opponent's stuff rather than counter it. So, like, this is probably going out too. And then the question is, like, of this, like, how many Force of Wills do I want? Because there's things that I could board in, like Snap, Chain of Vapor, Wipe Away, Hurricles. There's things of this nature that I can choose to board in, or I can choose to leave in the sideboard as Cunning Wish targets. Force is definitely fine, because there are things that I might want to force that are a different type than what I might blink out with Teferi's Realm. So Teferi's Realm most likely is going to name creature most of the time. I think I'm going to board out Force and bring in one bounce spell. So Anceptop in chat is saying that Snap is good because mid-combo it can, or when you're starting off, it can snap something and generate some mana for you. And I agree with that. I'm not 100% sure on the rest of the Force of Wills. 4 for 4. No, I absolutely need to leave some in the sideboard as Cunning Wish targets. The real question is, like, is having access to one generic bounce spell in the main deck good? So, like, do I want to essentially leave myself with one generic answer to everything and one answer to, like, Chalice plus Equipment plus Files plus Provokers, which I guess I don't really care about? I think this is okay. Yeah, that was a very large Mom. This hand does nothing. And it does nothing slowly. This hand, on the other hand, is strong. Don't judge me. I play towards the turn 3. I think opponent has showed me that they're not particularly experienced in the matchup, so rather than keeping something that's going to dig towards answer, I'm going to hope that my opponent stumbling or not boarding properly results in me being able to play better. Not punished ever. That was a no fear mulligan. That was essentially me saying, I have chosen how I am going to play this game. My opponent played Deafening Silence into Stoneforge. Alright, have fun reading that one, opponent. For all 3 of you that were alive when phasing was around, do you know how phasing works with Batterskull? That's your trivia of the day. So in case you're not familiar with Teferi's Realm, you choose a permanent type. Artifact, land, creature, or non-aura enchantment. And everything of the type that you choose phases out for that turn. What are you doing? That's cute. I guess, like, if I choose creature, I still get to take your Stoneforge. I'm still just gonna do the thing that lets me win, but like, that's never mind. Oh wait, can I just get another High Tide? So quick math check. So I can Merchant Scroll for High Tide, Turnabout, High Tide, Time Spiral, or I can. Yeah, I think I would just want to get the other High Tide going. So if I do it, Merchant Scroll for Turnabout, then cast High Tide, I have 1 floating, then I make 3, 6, 9, 10. Whereas if I Merchant Scroll for High Tide, yeah, so I do it before I cast the Turnabout. So this produces 2 mana, making the next one produce 3 mana. So we're going into this with approximately 1,000,000 mana floating. So we'll brain. I guess doing the High Tide now is free because I have at least 2 things that I'm going to throw back with the Brainstorm before I Merchant Scroll. We'll Merchant Scroll to shuffle. What am I Merchant Scrolling for? Mana? I think I'm Merchant Scrolling for another untap. Because I might be Blue Sunning myself depending on what I draw. Let's ponder first, though, now that we have fresh cards on top of the library. Another Cunning Wish. That's mighty interesting. So I need Storm Count of 16. And do I have a Turnabout in the board? I do have a Turnabout in the board, so I will take that. So let's go Land, Cunning Wish, Preordain, Shuffle, no, Preordain, bottom, top, 2, 3, 4, Cunning Wish, use Cunning Wish's ability, yes, Turnabout, Turnabout. So I guess since I have that much mana, I can tap one of these and meditate first. High Tide. Now we're just having fun. Merchant Scroll. High Tide. High Tide. Choose target player. I choose me. 1, 2, 3. Yep. Turnabout. Land. Untap. Turnabout. Me. Whee! Land. Untap. Okay. I should have enough mana to just Brain Freeze my opponent out. So I will have so I have 49 mana, Down to 46 mana. No, I can only... I can't Blue Sun my opponent. I will just accept that I will Brain Freeze kill them. I could Blue Sun myself and drag on this Song and Dance, but this is fine. Yeah, we're just barely out of range to Blue Sun my opponent. So note, even though the fact that we like really took our time with comboing off and kind of played with our food a little bit, we did still just do all of that sequencing in about, I don't know, 3 minutes or something like that. So it's not like High Tide is like it is on paper, where in between all of the merchant scrolls and such, you have to be shuffling, and like the ponders and whatnot. So much of that is taken care of for you, that you can just continue like playing. How much do I like Teferi's Realm? I do rather like Teferi's Realm. My hand is a clunker, though. I did not notice the absence of the sideboard Quicken. Or the sideboard Ravenous Trap. We're just looking for lands here. I will accept the Force. And the Preordain. It's not what I wanted from that. But I think forcing a Thalia or a Chalice this turn is pretty good. Yes, I am aware. My tech guy is on holiday in Japan, so I'm not going to bother him to fix it while he's there. He'll be back in a couple of days, and then I'll bother him. And then I think I'm going to do some actual work on the website. It's been a while. Yeah, that's fine. But you're tapping suboptimally. Alright, it didn't matter. So this is interesting. Does my opponent know how this matchup works? And this all involves their Rashad and Port timing. My feeling is no. So if I get Merchant Scroll, my opponent goes to port me in my upkeep, I just High Tide, go to my main phase, and then go off next turn. But if my opponent knows to wait until after I cast a High Tide to port, then that doesn't work. And I should just play Teferi's Realm this turn. It's harder for me to cast Teferi's Realm in any future turn than this turn because of the Rashad port. But that being said, I think I'm just getting High Tide. So the thing is, I think my opponent is like 70+% to make the mistake. Okay. This isn't that bad. Now all I need to do is spike a land. Okay. So, opponent. Once you have the Deafening Silence in play, then you're supposed to port me in the upkeep to keep me off of things like Teferi's Realm or Cunning Wish for an answer. Cunning Wish is a bad example because it's an instant, but you know. God, this Teferi's Realm is so good. It's going to phase out the Deafening Silence and the Rest in Peace. That is disgusting. So, opponent, what are you getting rid of with Teferi's Realm? Because it's kind of hilarious no matter what you pick. I think you're supposed to pick Enchantment for your turn. They picked lands. So now they don't get to play spells on their turn. Whereas if they picked enchantments, they would have just, like, phased these out and not impacted their turn at all. Dear opponent, I hope you find this video later and learn from it. And I do mean that sincerely. Because there are more optimal lines than what you're doing that are allowing me to get further and further ahead. Okay. What do you got? Ooh. Did you know how that one worked, folks? Because I did. So now we just need to answer this Leonin Relic Order / Deafening Silence. So, in the sideboard, I have Wipe Away. Wipe Away is the one that will beat Mother of Runes. So I will Cunning Wish for Wipe Away during my opponent's turn. Then go from there. The question is, how greedy of a boy am I? Because if I'm super greedy, I go for Brainstorm to hit another land drop. And I think I am going to go for that because my life total is still really high. And so if I miss and I have to Cunning Wish the following turn, that's okay. But making more land drops against taxes is so good. Three draws, no land. So sad. No, they lost their lands. They destroyed their own lands. So we'll put back Meditate and High Tide. Alright, so I can't Merchant Scroll to Shuffle because of the Deafening Silence. Oh, sorry, I'm thinking of this backwards. I'm thinking of if you phase out the Relic Order, you lose the thing that that Relic Order took permanently. Sorry, that's what I'm thinking of. So we'll just pass the turn. I'll Cunning Wish for a bounce spell and go from there. Yep. Flicker was one of my lands. I guess I will Cunning Wish in response to that. So instead of trying to get my realm back, I also could just... Oh no, I don't have the chain. Unfortunately, the chain is in the deck. But I could just Merchant Scroll for chain. Chain Deafening Silence on my opponent's end step. And then try to go off. In which case I could get a turnabout to increase the mana that I have. But I'm just going to get the wipe away here. Man, I wish the chain was in the sideboard, because then I could have gotten that and chained at my opponent's end step. So I have a little bit of time. I don't think I've played this game optimally. I think I should have plotted this out so on my last turn here, I just... excuse me. I just Merchant Scrolled for Chain of Vapor so that I could bounce Deafening Silence. That's a good use of port. It makes my life awkward if I don't spike a land. I'm considering using a High Tide here. I'm not facing lethal yet, so I'm not going to. But life's so much better for me if I draw a land. Yeah. Oh, no, yeah, so the High Tide doesn't do anything because of Deafening Silence. You're right, you're right, you're right. Now I have to discard something. I believe it is just going to be the Time Spiral. Or sorry, I believe it is just going to be the Meditate because I am intending on Time Spiraling. Yeah, I need to play towards a land. Because then I go Chain, Deafening Silence, High Tide, Turnabout, High Tide, go. All right. So here we go. See if we draw the land. No, we can chain in response. Land. Well, that kind of sucks. Yeah. So, in case you're not familiar with that line, so my opponent could have had the option of sacking a land and then using that to bounce their Flicker Wisp to activate this and bounce out another one of my lands, which would have also been very strong. So opponent definitely had some better lines that game. I potentially lost that one by not by Cunning Wishing for the wipe away instead of Merchant Scrolling for the Chain of Vapor. I mean, I think it's correct to be playing towards my opponents making mistakes, but me choosing the wrong thing to play towards because I was focused on the Relic Order, because getting rid of the Relic Order also meant that I could phase out their enchantments. Because I was focused on that instead of just ignoring the Relic Order and going for the Deafening Silence, which was like the thing that would have hampered me the most, I tunnel visioned on the wrong thing. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take a second to use the restroom. I will be right back. All right, folks, I'm back. Let's do it. So for anyone who didn't catch it earlier, hi, my name is Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, which has recently rebranded all of its content to ThrabenU. You can find me everywhere under the name ThrabenU. Didn't we just play against this person? So I was playing in the semifinals of some legacy event at Xanadu in Maryland. I think it was against Paul Lynch. And he was playing some sort of Omni deck. And don't think I want this. I think it's slow. And he went and tried to phase out my Leonin Relic Ward to get an Omniscience back. And he did not get the Omniscience back. So in terms of racing, we're doing pretty well. Next turn we have High Tide, Turnabout, High Tide, Time Spiral. So that's pretty good. Why do you think more people don't play High Tide? Because it's a combo deck that doesn't have a deterministic win. When you start going off with this deck, you are just not guaranteed to win. And I think that is terrifying. Whereas if you start going off with Breach, or Ant, or TES, you are very, very likely to win. Whereas High Tide, you do fizzle a decent amount of the time. Since I have the Meditate to refuel if something goes wrong, I'm just going for it. I think. I don't know, it's weird though, because my opponent didn't take the Time Spiral. So if they have one Force of Will... Yeah. High Tide with 1 land, Turnabout with 2 lands, untaps, creates 6 mana, Time Spiral. If they didn't take the Time Spiral, that makes me think they have Force. But it's not particularly bad if they force it. I lose 3 cards, and then I can just Meditate to refuel. I think I'm going to wait. I have this Ponder. It can find me a Flusterstorm or something. The pile O cantrips is fine. It's not exactly what I wanted to see in the second batch of cantrips there, but I wasn't getting much deeper, so that's fine. So the bad thing is that, like, we know my opponent is on this Cabal Therapy, Young Pyromancer stuff. Yeah, I can wish for a counter. And we just die. So that's cool. How do they always have the Brain Freeze, the Wish, and the LED? So they didn't. I didn't check the graveyard too carefully, but it didn't look like it. It sure feels like we got bamboozled. I can check the VOD later to confirm. So if I want to fight the combo side, these are things that I can board in. But again, kind of like I talked about last time we played this, if I board too much for the combo side, I can just lose to the fair side because of the clunk that I put into my deck. Alright. Let's go Packed Out because it's awkward as a defensive counterspell. There's also Young Pyromancers in there. And Cabal Therapies. I don't love it. We didn't have a deterministic win on 3 lands if we started going for it. It would not necessarily have been easy, but we could have had a real shot. Third Spiral is real bad. No. God. Rainy day tomorrow because I have 2 lands. I need more land right now. I don't need another High Tide right now. And that's another reason. No, I think you either name Brainstorm or High Tide there. I'm going to try to main phase Brainstorm and find a fetch land or a Ponder to shuffle some of this stuff away. This is too many lands. It's also too many Time Spirals. All right. Counterspell? No. Well, life's bad. So I need to find a Cunning Wish to bounce that. Yeah, Legacy. Leovold's a fair card. He's not even particularly good. I mean, we're obviously playing High Tide, so it's great. But, like, a 3-mana card as a somewhat disruptive, somewhat threadish thing is not really where you want to be right now in the format, in my opinion. Sure. Yeah, so like Breach is the premier combo deck of the format right now. And so Leovold says each opponent can't draw more than one card each turn. That does not stop LED Brain Freeze shenanigans. Whenever you or a permanent you control becomes the target of a spell or ability, opponent controlled, you can draw a card. If you have like a Mind Break trap or something like that, that's kind of cool. But otherwise, eh? How much do I want to look for that Cunning Wish? I don't know that it's this much. I'm not close enough to dead yet. So, hot take here. No. The High Tide means nothing until I can answer the Leovold. And if I can answer the Leovold, I can Time Spiral the Leovold away as an awkward answer. But I don't know that I can afford to put the High Tide on top and then just have it be stripped via a piece of discard. That just does not feel like a winning proposition to me. Yep. Now I don't expect to win. Because any spell means that my opponent can Cabal Therapy away double Time Spiral. Please don't hit. Oh, you're doing this to me. Yeah, so Leovold is each opponent can't draw more than one card each turn. Slightly different phrasing than some of the other things that we see. So there's like Spirit of the Labyrinth, Notion Thief. There's a handful of cards like this. What am I merchant scrolling for? I'm taking 6 damage this turn. So I don't actually have a bounce spell in the main deck. So I merchant scroll for Cunning Wish, for Chain of Vapor. Merchant scroll for Cunning Wish for Chain of Vapor. Spike High Tide. Hope opponent has nothing. play around soft counter magic that my opponent might have. I guess we're not beating a discard spell, because it would take the Cunning Wish or the other thing to get anyway. Actually, I guess that should have been Snap. Because if I spike the High Tide, I go High Tide, Snap, untap those 2 lands, generate more mana. My opponent knows about the Time Spiral from earlier and the Chain of Vapor, so our outs are eliminated. Alright, so we've lost to that person twice in the same league. I very much do not feel like the Breach match is anywhere near acceptable. Like, I definitely have made some mistakes in these games, but I'm so much slower than Breach. And that player in particular is playing a very odd configuration, and the Cabal therapies are brutal. Anurag, thank you very much for your support. Hope your stream went well. We are playing High Tide and getting absolutely bullied by Breach. 2 losses to the same Breach player in this league. So it's been rough. And folks, while I'm talking about stream stuff, we're 2 of the 3 subs towards our sub goal of the night, which was unlocking another stream for, not this Thursday, that one's already unlocked, but a stream for Thursday the 20th. So what am I playing this Thursday? So this Thursday we're going to play the Soul Herder Vial list. Then Saturday we're playing this Mono Black list. I'll show that to you real quick while we're queuing. It's pretty hot. So this is the list we're going to play Saturday morning, with all sorts of Legacy All-Stars, like Marilyn of the Morn Song, and Ashiok Dream Render. Hey, Fine and Andy, thank you very much for gifting a sub. And Rainy Day Tomorrow, congratulations on your gifted sub. Let's add a Monday stream to it. Also, Fine and Andy, I've been meaning to ask, is that a Lapras saluting? Or is it just something that happens to look like a Lapras? Yeah. Hey, Anurag, random question, but do you want to do some Breach content together at some point? Because I kind of want to play that deck on stream, but I don't feel like I know what I'm doing. Alright. I'll message you about that at some point in the next week or 2. Alright, so now that is 2x Thursdays unlocked. Yeah, so this Marlin of the Morn Song deck is super cool. So essentially you're trying to hard lock your opponent out with Ashiok and this card, and if that doesn't work, you just throw Lilianas and Regisaurs and Dark Confidants and Hymns at your opponent until they die. Alright, take care. And super happy with the content you've been producing recently, by the way. Like, keep up the good work. For everyone who's just joining from Anurag's stream, hi, I'm Phil Gallagher. I run ThrabenU University. We stream a lot of Legacy on this channel, usually about 3 times a week. Today we're playing High Tide, and it's been a bad day for islands. Henry Deutsch. Alright. Yeah. This Mystic Sanctuary is awkward. But, like, I have lands, I have cantrips, I have, like, essentially the High Tide and the Time Spiral to find it. There's some consideration to just playing a tapped Mystic Sanctuary on turn 1. I think I want more 1-mana spells right now instead of another Merchant Scroll, but that's close. So my current plan is to die to red-black Reanimator. Nope. Goblins. Alright, this has got to be a good matchup, right? So my opponent needs to goldfish us. Main deck Pyroblasts. I would do it. Okay, so we're going to ponder, look for an untapper, and then hold up Counterspell. Nice. So we have the potential to kill next turn. With High Tide into Turnabout, into Time Spiral. Not guaranteed by any means, but we've got good odds. We are currently 1 in 3, I believe. Since I expect that I'm going off this turn, I'm basically going to counterspell like anything that my opponent plays. Yeah, it has not been a good night to be a High Tide player. Alright, what do you got for me? Sling Gang hurts, but I don't think it kills. Since my life total isn't particularly relevant here, I think I'm going to fetch and just thin one more land out of my deck so I don't... I guess that doesn't make any sense, right? Because if I take this out of the deck, this goes into the graveyard and gets shuffled back in. So I guess it's just irrelevant. And it's in fact better to play Mystic Sanctuary. Target me. Land, untap, here we go. Time Spiral. So let's get more mana. That's step 1. So he's 3 now. These are 3 now. So I can use all of this to tap down my opponent's red lands if I'm afraid of main deck Pyroblast. Then my opponent floats mana. I move to my second main phase. Then I can brainstorm, look for another High Tide, then turnabout, untap my stuff. Opponent did not float mana. They do not have main deck Pyroblasts. I'm starting to get a little scared. Drawing this 4 lands was kind of rough. I think I'm going to meditate one more time. These are 3. These are 3. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. As an absolute worst case scenario, I have Intuition for Time Spiral still. So let's brainstorm first. I can put 2 lands back. Okay. Can I do this without spiraling? I need to hit Storm of... So I need 15 copies of Brain Freeze. So I have 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So it basically doesn't matter what I do with this. Target you. Cunning Wish X3. Cunning Wish for Brain Freeze. Oh, I have to hit done. I don't know how elegant my lines are at the end of the day. I'm sure there are tighter lines than what I'm taking. But what I'm doing is working. Why are you letting me see your whole deck? Did I miscount? I don't think I miscounted. 15 times 3, 45. And it was 16, so it was 48, yeah. So, opponent has showed me that they're on black. Which is not something I should have done. Okay. So... Teferi's Realm is interesting. Because if my opponent is playing something like Chalice of the Void, it's an easy way to answer that. But I don't know how much I even sideboard. Like, I don't want this packed. My Force of Wills and counterspells aren't actually great because of Cavern of Souls. But it does answer non-creature permanents that my opponent might play. Why is Pact still main deck? The donation talked about changing lands, and I made a couple of changes to the sideboard. Alright, so I need to bring in like 6 cards. So this can just come in. I guess these can come in. I guess we just play more combo pieces in the main deck. So this leaves me with 3 things to tutor for. Oh, you made a different list? That was not in the PayPal description that I read. In which case, whoops. Yeah, I mean, high tide content is high tide content. If I'm being honest with you, just about any high tide list that we played tonight would not have been great against our pairings. Sorry, I'm going to take a second to do something on the other screen here. And that's why we've trimmed counterspells. Yeah, so the PayPal description has some of the changes that you made, and I made those changes, but did not actually have a deck list. Alright, Goblin Lackey. Who knows what can happen now? Let's ponder. So that is a piece of what we're looking for. What are you going to do, goblins? I guess, like, Earwig Squad is one of the scariest things that could happen. That's fine. Teferi's Realm deals with that. Albeit slowly. Oh, no. This card is scary. This card is really scary. It means that with like Mog War Marshal and Goblin Lackey combined, my opponent can do disgusting things if they have something like a Matron. So currently I'm looking for land 4 to play Teferi's Realm. I'm also looking for the High Tide. This is fine, I guess. So I already played my land. Opponent has a lot in play for turn 2. So Merchant Scroll is going to get me my High Tide. I'm going to draw the turnabout. And then I'll Teferi's Realm and go off the following turn. Hopefully, I'm not dead by then, though. So this is suspicious. My opponent could have just cast Goblin Warchief and gotten in for 2 more damage, but they didn't, so they might have something like a Blast. Do I know how to call them or what? But honestly, I'm happy that was countered instead of the Teferi's Realm. Oh, please don't Ringleader off the top. Okay, okay. Sorry, that was the land. They just played the land. Everything's fine. Sorry, I was taking a moment to think about whether or not I could just go off through the Thorn by getting a Merchant Scroll this turn. But I think this is better. And it will make the math easier for me. Yeah, my opponent is 100% on a tempo plan here. They're hoping that their clock is good enough that they can kill me. Interesting. So that phased out the artifact. That's not in play. Huh. So I thought my opponent was going to choose enchantment there. So doing creatures doesn't do anything, right? So each one phases in before its controller untaps. So doing creatures doesn't actually change anything here. So I'll just rename artifact. Draw high tide? Draw land. Is that good enough to go off? Merchant Scroll for high tide, turnabout, go. Yes, yes. So I have 10 mana. So I can use 4 of that to Merchant Scroll for another high tide. I don't think I still have a turnabout in my sideboard. I think I just boarded those in. Yeah. So is there anything else that I might want? Not really. Ooh, did I have mana to Surgical Pyro? I did have mana to Surgical Pyro. That would have been smart. But here we are. Well, we were pretty likely to get there, but we did not have a deterministic kill yet. But 100% can understand the concession when High Tide has like 15 mana available. Okay. So let's do a debrief here. And then I think something else got added to the queue while I was on stream. Yeah, Fine and Andy, they might have been upset that like they misunderstood that card, and so they phased out their own thing. But I'm not sure that that was a mistake. My opponent could have had some non-creature spell that they wanted to play for cheaper. I don't know. It seems like no, because it doesn't come back until their turn. Maybe they thought it came back in my turn. Yeah, I don't know. They might have been on tilt already. There's not much they can do in game one. And they had a Thorn plus a Goblin Lackey start and then kind of flooded out. So I would 100% understand tilting there. Okay. So my overall thoughts right now are that High Tide isn't a competitive combo deck. Like you can get your wins. Like we were, I forget if it was a 4-1 or a 3-2 last time around, but deck felt fine last time around. But this time around, we played against too many opposing combo decks. And as we saw when we played against Breach, my game plan of drag the game on, make a bunch of land drops, and have inevitability as a combo deck is just so bad against Breach. Because I'm constantly living in fear of waiting too long and my opponent combos me off, while I also am afraid of going off too early because my opponent has silence, and they also sometimes have discard spells thrown in there. And we played against the weird Young Pyromancer version as well that had Cabal Therapy, and that was just gross. So overall, it feels like my game plan is not competitive against the Breach side of the format. Now, if we're playing against the Oko side of the format, on the other hand, where my opponent wants to just grind value out of food, you know, those sorts of decks were probably a bit better against. Veil of Summer was a beating once or twice on stream. Like when I tried to counter that discard spell, that did not work out so well. And Skeleton, thank you very much for following. I hope you enjoyed the stream. So I'd definitely play High Tide again on stream at some point, but I don't know that this is the best time for High Tide. Our other stream definitely went better. While I'm at it here, I got a donation during the stream, I think. You got money. Nope. Sorry, that was for Cardboard Live, not for a donation deck list. So there's nothing new added there. So folks, I'm going to be back on Thursday night with an Esper Vial deck. We're going to play the Soul Herder deck that has been floating around, and I hope you enjoy that. So again, just one more time for anyone that wasn't here, you can now find me under the name ThrabenU on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The direct link to YouTube is the same as it was before, but you can now search ThrabenU and find me instead. Folks, I hope you enjoyed, and if you do enjoy, please consider doing something to support the channel in some way, and thank you all for the support. I'm going to host Cherryman. I don't know what he is playing currently, but I hope you enjoy it. CherryXman _ Night.